Last video already we have seen about that Roma Talreja's condition at Mumbai railway station. Last period we have discussed about that the introduction of the character. There are two major characters. The first major character, that is Roma Talreja, and the second character is Baleshwar Mishra. What was her age? What was her job? Everything we have seen. While returning to his home, she entered into that the railway. In a railway, there was a full of a crowd of people, and she entered into that the railway. There was no place for our Roma Talreja to stand, but she was adjusted herself, and she was standing nearby the door of a railway compartment. And when the railway was started, Roma Talreja was jammed between two women. Now the Roma Talreja's condition became very horrible. She tried to control herself, so that's why she needed one support of that railing, but she could not get a railing, and at last she had fallen nearby the track. And in opposite side, one train was coming, and in that the train, Baleshwar Mishra was there. He was a job hunt. He was searching such a job at Mumbai, and now here he saw such a horrible the condition of Roma Talreja. Nobody dared to go and save her life. He saw the entire situation, and at last he was decided to go there and help her or save her life. And now here, how he saved her life, now we are going to learn. Now we are concentrate on the paragraph number 3. Standing near the door of another train speeding in the opposite direction, 20-year-old Baleshwar Mishra couldn't believe what he had just seen. A young woman in a black salwar kameez lying next to door tracks. Meanwhile, gasps and screams emanated from his compartment. "There is a girl by the tracks," the voices cried out. Standing near the door of another train speeding in the opposite side direction. And in opposite side, the one train was coming, and in that the train who was there, Baleshwar Mishra was there, and he was standing near the door of another train, means that the train. And such a the train was speeding in the opposite side or opposite direction. And now here he saw the everything. Horrible accident he saw about Roma Talreja. And then the year he saw 20 years old Baleshwar Mishra. 20-year-old Baleshwar Mishra's age was 20 years old, and Roma Talreja's age was 21 years old. She was younger. Baleshwar Mishra was younger than Roma Talreja would try to understand one point. 20-year-old Baleshwar Mishra couldn't believe what had happened, what had just seen. He could not believe what had happened or what he had seen. Such a horrible scene he had seen. A young woman, about that young woman, who was a young woman, that is a Roma Talreja. A young woman in a black salwar kameez lying next to the tracks. Track means that is a railway track, a railroad. We say that is a railroad. Which type of dress she put on at that time when such an accident was occurred? Which type of dress she put on? Black salwar kameez. Black salwar kameez, such as the dress she put on, and she was lying next to the tracks or nearby the tracks or beside the tracks. Meanwhile, when she was lying next to the track, and at that time another train was coming in opposite directions, and in that directions who was there? Baleshwar Mishra was there. Other passengers were there. Baleshwar Mishra as well as other passengers saw such a horrible scene. About that the young woman who was lying next to the track. And here, what was the reaction of that the passengers? Reaction of that the Baleshwar Mishra as well as the passengers in that the opposite train, opposite direction train. And there here, now we are going to see. Meanwhile, the gasps and screams emanated from his compartment. Emanated means that is a arise. And here when he saw, Baleshwar Mishra saw as well as the other passenger in that the train saw such a horrible scene about that the Roma Talreja. They were, that is screaming, they were grasping, they were screaming, ते जोर जोरात ओरडा लागलेत. कोणतरी पडलंय, एक वुमन पडलेली आहे, यंग लेडी पडलेली आहे. Young woman in a black service. Meanwhile, gasp and the screams emanated from his compartment. His compartment means whose compartment? Baleshwar Mishra's compartment. The other passengers were there. They were screaming, they were grasping about that woman who was lying next to the door, next to the, that is the tracks or nearby the tracks. What was the screaming? Other voices cried out, passengers' voices cried out, there is a girl by the tracks. There is a girl by the tracks. It is our title. What is our title? Title of our prose, title of our lesson, there is a girl by the tracks. And now here, such a the voices cried out. The word means voices, means who is the voices here? The word voices is referred to, that is a passenger in that the train, Baleshwar Mishra's train. And there is a girl by the track. This is our title. Impulsively, Baleshwar went and grabbed the train's red emergency chain and pulled it down frantically. The train screeched, slowing down. He then surveyed the compartment full of the weary faces. Let's go and help her, he shouted. But nobody volunteered. Afraid of getting involved or being an inconvenience, perhaps. Impulsively, Baleshwar went and grabbed the train's red emergency chain and pulled it down frantically. Impulsively means what? What is the meaning of the impulsively? Which is a mention in your glossary. The impulsively means that is without any thinking. Without any thinking, that is impulsively Baleshwar went. Baleshwar saw such a horrible scenes about that the woman who was lying nearby the track, and suddenly or impulsively Baleshwar went and grabbed. Grab means to pull out. The grabbed the train's red emergency chain. You go to the train, the railway station, will get in that the train, there is a one red emergency chain is there. If you have a problem, you pull out. You pull out such a the train, automatically train will be stopped. And suddenly here Baleshwar, or impulsively Baleshwar went and grabbed the red train, that is the train's red emergency chain, and pulled it down frantically. That is the frantically. Frantically means with no hope, which is mentioned, the word which is mentioned in our glossary. Frantically means that is with no hope. काय होईल ते होईल म्हणून या बालेश्वर मिश्रांना ती जी काय रेड इमर्जन्सी चेन्स जी आहे ती काय केले, खेचलेली आहे. आणि आपल्याला जर एखादा प्रसंग जर रेल्वेमध्ये जर असा जर आढळला तर आपण ते रेड इमर्जन्सी ट्रेन म्हणजे ती जी काय चेन आहे ती चेन आपण खेचायची असते आणि ती खेचल्यानंतर आपली रेल्वे थांबू शकते. आणि म्हणून या बालेश्वर मिश्रांना ती काय केले, ती ट्रेन म्हणजे इमर्जन्सी चेन आहे ती चेन काय खेचलेली आहे, कारण तसा इन्सिडेंट तिथं त्यांना पाहिला होता. अँड फॉर दॅट द पर्पज ही पुल्ड आउट or pulled it down frantically. The train screech means a type of train when he pulled it down frantically, and now here the train or the Baleshwar Mishra's the train, that is the screech slowing down. The speed of the train was slowing down. The speed of the train was slowing down now. Why? Because he pulled it down frantically, and so that's why that is speed of railway was slowing down. He then surveyed the compartment full of the weary faces. Weary means worried. He observed the faces of other passengers in his train. His faces were look like worried. All faces of the passengers were worried. Very faces, worried faces. He then surveyed the compartment full of the weary faces, and he said that, let's go and help her. He shouted. Who shouted? Baleshwar Mishra shouted to other passengers in the train. Let's go and help her. Such a the line is a very important for the RC. RC means reference to context. RC means reference to context. In Marathi that is a संदर्भ स्पष्टीकरणासाठी ही ओळ अतिशय महत्त्वाची आहे. Let's go and help her, she shouted. But nobody volunteered. Nobody was ready to help her. Why? Because of a technical problem, because of a legal procedure, Nobody volunteered. पण कोणीही volunteer means स्वेच्छेने कोणीही तिथं गेलेले नाही. But nobody volunteered. Why? Because we'll get it answer. They were afraid of getting involved, of being inconvenienced perhaps. कारण आपल्याला माहिती आहे जर एखादा ॲक्सिडेंट झाला आणि त्या ॲक्सिडेंटमध्ये जर तुम्ही वाचवायला गेला असेल तर पोलीस डिपार्टमेंटकडून तुम्हाला त्रास सहन करावा लागतो, तुमचे जबाब नोंदवावे लागतात, तुमचे जबाब घ्यावे लागतात. त्यामुळं त्या संबंधित वाचवणाऱ्या व्यक्तीला, जी वाचवायला जी गेलेली व्यक्ती आहे त्या व्यक्तीला त्या हेलपाटे खावे लागतात, पोलीस स्टेशनला जावं लागतं, तिथे जबाब नोंदवावे लागतात, त्यांना संपूर्ण माहिती सांगावी लागते. हा विनाकारण त्रास या वाचवायला गेलेल्या व्यक्तीला सहन करावा लागतो. आणि म्हणून ही लिगल प्रोसिजरमुळं कोणीही तिथं गेलेले नाहीत, कोणीही जाणार नाही. त्यामुळे ही गोष्ट सध्या तरी चेंज करायला पाहिजेत, पण ती चेंज झालेली नाही. बट nobody volunteered. Why? Because they were afraid of getting the involved of being inconvenience or perhaps. He is heard hammering his chest. He is heard hammering his chest. Baleshwar showed himself to the door and jumped off the still moving train. As he landed on the ground, a burst of pain shot up in his ankle, but there was no real damage. He got up to find a part of his old rubber slippers sole torn off as a result of his fall. But Baleshwar started to sprint back between the tracks as his train picked up speed again and disappeared. He's hurt. Now he was also totally afraid. When he saw the horrible scenes about that, the Roma Talreja who was lying beside the tracks, he was also afraid. Other passengers were also afraid. And now here he is heard hammering. धड धड धड, हृदया छातीला धडधड म्हणजे लागता है. It means that he was afraid. He is heard hammering in the chest. Baleshwar showed himself to the door. Baleshwar showed himself to the door and jumped off the still moving train, and here he jumped from his moving train. Why? Because he wanted to help her, wanted to save her life. And so that's why Baleshwar himself jumped off from the moving train. As he landed on the ground, who? Baleshwar Mishra. Baleshwar Mishra was landed on the ground. A burst of pain shot up in his ankle. Ankle means पायाचा घोटा. आणि या पायाच्या घोटामध्ये अशी जोरात अशी त्याला कळ आलेली आहे, वेदना झालेल्या आहेत. The burst of pain shot up in his ankle. Why? Because he jumped off from the moving train, and the problem was there. Problem was in his, or pain was in his, that is ankle he got. But there was no real damage. There was no any fracture in his ankle. There was no any real damage in his ankle. He got up to find part of his old rubber slippers sole torn off as a result of his fall, and now here his old rubber slippers sole was torn off. आणि त्याच्या पायाचे जो स्लिपर होता, ओल्ड रबर स्लिपर होते, त्या स्लिपरचा काय झालेला आहे, तळवा म्हणतो, तो तळवा सुद्धा निघालेला आहे. Why? Because he jumped from the moving train, and so that's why he got such the result now as a result of his fall, which is mentioned here. But Baleshwar started to sprint. Sprint back between the tracks as his train picked up speed again and disappeared. But Baleshwar started to sprint. The word sprint is given in our glossary. Sprint means that is a run very fast. Run very fast means that is a sprint. And now here Baleshwar started to sprint back. Why? Because his train was a moving train, and so that's why she was lying nearby the track to the back, but his train was moving forward, and there she was jumped off. Again here he started to sprint back between the tracks as his train picked up speed again and disappeared, and his train was disappeared now. And on the track, the two persons were there. The first person, that is a Roma Talreja, who was in unconscious state. She was knocked senseless. And another character, that is a Baleshwar Mishra. Both characters were on the tracks. One character is a conscious, Another character is unconscious. Both characters were unknown to each other. Both were stranger to each other. And so here you see. Now we concentrate on the questions answer. Check your understanding. Check your understanding. What is your understanding? Now we are going to see. Share your responses. Question number 1. It's a regular scene. It's a regular scene. This line which is mentioned in a paragraph number first. This line which is mentioned in a paragraph number first, it's a regular scene. What was a regular scene? Or what was a regular about that about the scene? You go to the paragraph number 1, you will get its answer. What is a regular scene? You see, as a Mumbai suburban electric train made its 22nd, 6:32 p.m. halt at stations. Commuters means passengers swarmed out and into its 12 packed coaches. It's a regular scene in and around India's most populated cities or metropolis, or having such as the regular scenes will get in a metropolis or metro cities. Same regular scene also at a Mumbai railway station also. And now here we concentrate on the next question. Roma Talreja tried to settle into corner near the door in the train. Roma Talreja tried to settle into a corner near the door in the train. This line is also mentioned in your lesson. Yes, in your that is a lesson. And now here you see. Was he right? Was he right in doing this? What would have done? What would you have done if you were there? Was he right? Was he right in doing this? She was a settle. She tried to settle into a corner near the door in the train. Yes, and now it was not. Means according to me, it is my personal answer. It is not a good. It is not a good. Why? Because the problem was there. There was no space or no place or space in the train to stand. But she adjusted herself. She was adjusted herself to stand there or in the place. Was she right in doing this? Yes, she was right. Means actually, according to me, it was not a right one. It was a not right one. But we'll get answer, different types of answer. Some student says like that, yes. Some student says like no. Depends on that the view, on the student's view, and so that's why, or approach, student's approach. So that's. But according to me, it was not a good. What would you have done if you were there? You can write yourselves. You can write yourselves. And now we turn to the question number 3. There is a girl by the track, the voices cried out. There is a girl by the tracks, the voices cried out. Voices means the passenger in the train. Voices means whose voices? Passengers' voices. The question, whose voices do you think those were? Whose voices do you think those were? Whose voices? Passenger in the train. Passengers in the train. Now we turn to the question number 4. Baleshwar was impulsive in taking a decision because. Baleshwar was impulsive quickly in taking a decision because you go to the paragraph number 3, fill in the blank appropriately. Paragraph number 3, you go to the paragraph number 3, we'll get it's the answer here. The problem was there. Yes, problem was there. Why? Because she was means lying. She was lying next to the track. Yes, and a young woman, that is a Roma Talreja. There is no name which is mentioned in it. Young woman means who was a young woman, that is a Roma Talreja, who was putting on, that is a black dress, black salwar kameez, who was lying nearby near or next to the tracks. Next to the tracks. This is the answer. The dictionary says callous means unconcerned. Unconcerned means संबंधित नसणे. Unconcerned means संबंधित नसणे. Concern means संबंधित असणे. Unconcerned means संबंधित नसणे. संबंधित नसणे. Dictionary says callous means unconcerned. In this situation, who do you think were callous towards the accident? Who do you think were callous towards the accident? म्हणजे त्या ॲक्सिडेंटशी कोण संबंधित नाही आहे, callous. There is a passengers in that train. Passengers in that train. Answer is that. Now we turn to the question number 6. Baleshwar rushed to help the girl. Baleshwar rushed help to the girl. Baleshwar rushed to help the girl. His movement has been described with verbs like showed. Showed means the word which is mentioned in it. Showed means push roughly. Show means shove. Show means push roughly. असं जोरात असं ओबडधोबड असं ढकल, जोरात असं ढकलणे. Not smooth. Not a smooth. The verb here, Baleshwar rushed to help the girl. His movement has been described with the verbs like a showed. Identify two more such a verb or phrasal verbs in the paragraph. In the paragraph means here phrasal verb, already you know that the phrasal verb. How we form the phrasal verb? Verb plus preposition is equal to phrasal verb. What is the definition of that phrasal verb? Like that, verb plus preposition or verb plus adverb. How we form? आपण phrasal verb कशी तयार करतो? तर verb plus तुमचं preposition किंवा verb plus तुमचं adverb हे दोन्ही मिक्स करून आपण एखादी म्हणजे फ्रेझल वर्ब तयार करत असतो. आणि ही एक फ्रेझल वर्ब म्हणजे अशा अनेक फ्रेझल वर्ब याच्यामध्ये दिलेले आहेत की जिथं वर्ब प्लस प्रिपोजिशन किंवा वर्ब प्लस ॲडवर्ब अशा अनेक फ्रेजेस आहेत, त्या फाइंड आउट करा आणि त्या तुमच्या नोटबुकमध्ये लिहिण्याचा प्रयत्न करा. यस, आय विल गिव्ह वन फ्रेझल वर्ब दॅट इज अ गॉट अप लाईक दॅट. One phrasal verb that is a got up. Got is a verb, up is a preposition. Got plus up is equal to got up, means that is got up is a phrasal verb. Like that, jumped off, J-U-M-P-E-D, jumped, it is a verb. O-double-F, off means that is a up, O-double-F, off that is a preposition. This verb plus preposition is equal to phrasal verb, means that is a jumped off. Next, that is a landed on. Landed on, it is also phrasal verb. Landed on is also phrasal verb. Like land is also verb. Landed on is a preposition. Landed is a verb, on is a preposition, is equal to phrasal verb, means landed on is a phrasal verb. Such as the phrasal verbs are mentioned in your lesson. You should find out such as the phrasal verb and you can write in your notebook.